He is a Peabody and Emmy Award-winning documentary writer, producer, director, and editor, whose films have been shown on the national PBS series POV and Independent Lens, on the Independent Film Channel, and at the film festivals worldwide, including the Sundance Film Festival. A longtime friend of mine, Jay Rosenstein.
Making mayonnaise, huh? So let's face it, this is what comes to mind for most of you when you think about watching a documentary, right? It's okay. I understand. My 6-year-old tells me all the time that my films are boring. She says, "Daddy, there's so much talking in that." So the question is, why would I dedicate the last 15 years of my life to making documentaries? Well, it's not to help people sleep better. I actually have more modest goals. The reason I make documentaries is to change the world. Now, I realize that may be asking a lot of a simple TV show, but I've seen with my own eyes and with my own film some of the power of documentary. Now, with my newest film, The Lord Is Not on Trial Here Today, which really hasn't been out very long, I've seen how a documentary has the power to teach people about their own government, particularly about the First Amendment. With my film before that, the Amazon chorus Singing Out, I didn't time this very well, I saw how documentary has the power to move people with beautiful music. In fact, after the broadcast of this film on television, the chorus sold $20,000 worth of their CDs. I'm proud of that. I didn't get any of the money, but I'm still proud of that. And also, with my film about Chief Illiniwek, in whose honor, I've seen how documentary has the power to make thousands of people who I've never met hate my guts. But hating my guts is not all. You see, in the year 2000, I was hired as an assistant professor at the U of I Department of Journalism, and the way that works is the Board of Trustees has to approve all hires, and usually they just get a list and they approve the whole thing at once. But in my case, 3 of the 9 trustees singled me out and voted against my being hired because they didn't like my documentary. Now, this is basically almost unprecedented. I'm the anti-chief prof, by the way. This is basically unprecedented. In fact, the only other time I've ever seen this happen is with Bill Ayers, who some of you know was the founder of the 60s activist group The Weathermen, set off dozens of bombs in government buildings, was wanted by the FBI, and was a fugitive from the FBI for 10 years. So in the eyes of the University of Illinois Board of Trustees, making my little documentary about Chief Illiniwek is the equivalent of bombing the United States Capitol and the Pentagon. But, you know, really, all that happened a long time ago. I did get hired. I eventually got promoted. I got tenure. You know, I really, to be honest, I can't even remember the names of the trustees, you know, who might have voted against me. You know, let bygones be bygones has always really been my philosophy. So I don't really have any bad feelings about it. But anyway, a funny thing happened to me about a year ago. I was eating lunch in a local sandwich shop, and through the door walks former trustee Tom Lamont. And he's dressed in a shirt and tie, and I just started debating whether I should dump this giant glass of soda that I had on my table down the back of his shirt. Now, had I done it, it would have made a great story, but I didn't do it. So please let me know if you think maybe I should have. But anyways, I've always felt success is really the best revenge, and in 2001, I got one of the thrills of my life when the phone rang and the caller ID said it was the Sundance Film Festival, and they had invited me to screen one of my films there. And one of the most amazing parts of the festival is that all the directors of the films get invited to a private lunch with Robert Redford. And each one of us gets one ticket to go to this special lunch. And in preparation for it, I even went out and bought a brand new camera. Actually, this is the days of film. And so when the big day came, they loaded all of the directors on these special charter buses. and we took what was a 2-hour bus ride through the Utah wilderness till we got to the Sundance Institute, where we were going to have this lunch. We got there, the buses stopped, and we all got off, and before they let us get off, they asked if we had our tickets. So I guess if you forgot your ticket, you had to go back and sit on the bus. But so we got in the room, and this is the actual view from my seat, and this is Jeff Gilmore standing there speaking, who used to be the head of the Sundance Film Festival, and I was very anxious about this event. He gets up there and tells us that for the first time in Sundance history, Robert Redford was not going to be at the lunch because he was away shooting some piece of shit movie that no one's ever heard of. So this is what my picture would have been like with my new camera had I been able to take it with Robert Redford. And I'm getting pretty good with Photoshop. You probably couldn't even tell it. And I'm the one on the left, by the way. But making documentaries, I've had a chance to take pictures with several famous people. This is me with Spike Lee at this year's Peabody Awards. I'm the one on the left in this. And the next picture is me with the legendary Larry King. And let's show you Larry. He looks a bit like an alien in real life, but and I'm the one on the right in this picture as well. But anyways, I want to get back to my story. And a short time after the trustees tried to reject me, I got a phone call out of the blue from the NCAA. And a lot of you know that the NCAA is the organization that governs college sports. And it turns out they had heard about my documentary about Chief Illiniwek, and they wanted to start investigating whether or not to take a position on the appropriateness of Indian mascots. So they asked me if I could send them 12 copies of the film for everyone on their Minority Affairs Committee. And I said, sure, but you're going to have to pay for them. And they said, well, then make it 6. Because, you know, they don't have a lot of money. But some of you got that joke. But anyways, things moved kind of slow, and 5 years later, thanks in part to my documentary, the NCAA actually created a policy where any school that had an Indian mascot could not host an NCAA tournament game, which would cost some schools a lot of money. So because of that, a couple years later, the University of Illinois dropped Chief Illiniwek. So in the end, I guess my documentary really did change the world. Thank you.